What's up? We're rolling here. This week on 3D NerdStop, we're going to install our smart LCD controller. Alright guys, you'll have to excuse the sound quality on this. I'm, as you know, in temporary living space, so I have a temporary setup in order for me to have my printer set up in here. So in order for me to do printing, which is why we're doing this video, I don't really have a computer hooked up to this, so I'm having to use my camera without a good microphone set up in here, so just bear with me on this. Hopefully it sounds okay, but here we go. Here's our LCD panel. This is the LCD XXL. This is one of the ones that is really popular with this printer. So as we can see here, here it is. And here's the cable it comes with. They say do not replace this cable, leave this cable on it, so you don't put a longer or shorter cable on it, just use the one it comes with. So we're not going to replace it, we'll use what it comes with. So what we're going to do now is we're going to mount this to our pieces. As we can see, we have all of them printed out here. Here's our back plate, and here's our face plate. We got our button for our face plate. Okay, here's our knob. And we'll put it on there, it'll go on here. Alright. So I guess the first thing we should do is mount the LCD screen to the back. So now I found this little kit of screws online. I'll put the link in the description for the video. So all of these are 2mm screws. And it looks like we're going to go with the 2x12s. I believe should be these, which I believe are long enough. We'll see here. We get through here. Yes, and they do. They go all the way through, and they come out down there. Very good. So those look like they should be long enough, as you can see. See if I can get it to focus here for you. There you go. As you can see, that should be long enough. Shouldn't be too terribly long. Now let's see. Do I have the right tool for this? Let's see if I can get the right screwdriver to put these in with. There we go. So 1.5 hex. So this should be the right size. So this should fit. This should fit on here. Like so. Yep, apparently it does. Now there are these little spacers that we printed out, if you remember these. What these do is these go between the two circuit boards. So if I put that in there, then I take my little screw and I stick it in the hole here. There we go. What that does is when we use tighten down, I'll put that up here so y'all can see it better, hopefully. What that does is when you tighten that down is it keeps the two boards from bending and flexing towards each other. It keeps the two boards stable. So of course there are 4 of them for the 4 different screw holes that need that screw to go through it like that. So we'll go ahead and tighten this one down. Now the cable should, I'm guessing, come out the back here, like so. And take this. And put that to line up with the hole there. And it seems to be working. Takes a little bit of effort. There we go. There's one. Don't want to over tighten it, just make it snug. You don't want to take the chance of breaking anything. Get another 12 out here. Just snug. You don't actually want to make it tight, just snug. And there we go. Now our LCD screen is attached nicely. So now we're going to put the faceplate on. And as you can see, the faceplate fits so nice over this. Oops. Let's get it to squeeze on here. There we go. Now we've got it on. There we go. So that's how that fits. And now we should, in theory, be able to drop our screws in here. Okay. There we go. Okay, guys. Why don't you take a look at this here, best you can. I don't know how well you can see this here, but as you see, I had to open up this hole around the knob because it was pushing down on it. You need to be able to make sure this knob clicks. Okay, the other thing I've discovered, which hopefully won't be a problem, is only this screw and this screw seem to grab in the plastic at 2 millimeters, so you may want to get 2.5 or 3 millimeter screws to do this with. Okay, the 2 millimeter screws just aren't quite big enough. I'm going to have to get some 2.5 or 3s to put in the rest of them, but we'll come back and do that later. Okay, so I'm just going to put the knob on here now. So the knob should just, yeah, well, it's on there, but it's not on very well. There we go. Now it's on there. So now I can turn it, and I can still click it, and that's beautiful. And it looks good too. Okay. So our next step would be, put some of these screws away. I'm guessing our next step would be to open up the bottom of our printer. So we set this off to the side for a minute. Set our tools all off to the side here for a minute. Alright. And let me get the printer positioned and I'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back. Now we're going to flip the printer up on its side so we can get to the bottom of it here. Now if you notice, the reason I said I flipped it up onto its side is because you don't want the bed sliding out on you while you're flipping it around. So if you put it on its side, it's a little bit easier than that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to unplug it. Give you a little bit better view here. Maybe get you a slightly larger view. Okay. So now we'll take our screwdriver and we'll take all the screws out of the bottom. Okay, we got all the screws out. Now we're going to pop the bottom cover off, and I need to be careful because there's a wire right here attached to this fan. Okay? So you want to be careful. You don't want to go yanking that wire off. Now let's see what we've got here. As you can see, we've got it open here. Now this is your USB card reader here. Okay. Now we have this wire here. Okay, which if I'm not mistaken, you're going to have to unplug the USB card reader here, okay, in order to plug this in. Because this has a circuit board here. Get the wires untwisted. That goes on like this. You'll see this here. Oops. that goes on the bottom of this circuit board, which replaces where this was plugged in. So this is going to very carefully, so you don't bend any pins. Let me unplug this fan real quick so I get the bottom out of the way. Okay, it looks like I might have to take this out of my way long enough to plug in my circuit board. So I just undid that real quick, which is one of the stepper motors. Real quick while I get this plugged in. There we go. Now that I got that plugged in, plug my stepper motor back in here. There we go. That all looks good. So now I have my circuit board here. I have my LCD screen and it's plugged in here. And of course this right here is where this one was plugged in. So I just unplugged this card reader. So this card reader does nothing right now. Okay guys. So we've got on the bottom side of this board, it's kind of hard to see, but you have EXP1 and EXP2. Okay, so I want to mark these wires so I can unplug them from the back of the screen real quick. So I'm going to mark a 1 and a 2 on it if I can. Okay, so that's got one line. And that one has 2 lines on it. So now I can tell the 2 wires apart. So now I can unplug them from the back of the screen real quick. So I can move the screen out of the way while I fiddle with while I can try and put everything back together here real quick. So we've got these 2 wires, and they're going to need to run out here somewhere so they can run up here to our screen, which is going to go up here, which will go over here on this side. So let's see what we got to do here. First thing we're going to do is just see, look at our cover here, and see, well, it's not going to want to go back on with those wires going through it. To give ourselves a little gap right in here is for some place for our wires to feed through. So we're going to do that real quick to it. Get our wires out of the way there. Just a little bit more there. That gives us a little more room there, as you can see. Now let's see if that helps any. Back up here, let's see if that helps. Almost. The wires are still bunching up there a little bit. I'll tell you what we're going to do now. Wires are still getting caught up here. We're going to file this over a little bit more over here, and then file the face down a little bit right here. Alright. Now, as you can see, we've created a notch here in the back. Okay, so that's a place for our wires to come out. So let's pan back up here. And give that one more shot real quick. See if we can close her up. Now that closes up nicely. The wires aren't pinched. They look good. Alright guys. Now one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the card reader here. I don't see any reason for taking it out. But I am going to very carefully unplug its wires. Because I don't feel like there's any reason to have the wires in there. It's just something that doesn't need to be left behind in my opinion. So we'll just set those off to the side. Now that we have our slit cut in the side of the case, our wires should fit fine. So now we should be able to stand this up and plug our fan back in from the place from where you unplugged it when you took it apart. And for those of you that don't know where that is, that's from right there. That's the top on all of these rows. It'll be the top one right here is where I plug that in at. So now we'll put the back on. We'll put the bottom back on it very gently. There you go. The bottom is completely back on it. Now we're going to very carefully stand it back up. Rotate her around front. Make sure we leave enough room for our slide to slide around everywhere. Alright, one thing we're going to need to do that is I also printed the feet. And we also have the rubber feet that were originally on the bottom of the Robo. Now these, on the feet I printed, as you can see, go right into the bottom of them. So as you can see, I can just take this rubber foot and I can just force it right inside the model. And there we go. Now we have the rubber foot inside the plastic one. So now our printer will still be resting on rubber feet, which I thought was pretty cool. Of course, you will find all the description to all of these models, and you'll find a link to all of these models in the description below. All right, now that we have all the feet prepared, now you will have to have these feet for this, because when you put the LCD screen on in front, it sticks down below the normal height of this, so you do have to have extension feet on it. There we go. Now we have extension feet on it. As you can see, she's nice and sturdy. Now she sits up a little higher. One thing I'll do is give more airflow underneath it. Now what we'll do is mount the screen right here. Now there are a couple different ways you can mount this screen. As you can see, there's a screw hole here and a screw hole here. If you wanted to, on the side, over here on the side of the case, there's a screw. You could take that screw out and get a longer one and then screw this to the side of the case over here. By doing that, you are then you're fastening it there, and then what you would do is get like a deck screw or a wood screw, or you could actually drill the hole out and use the same thing and put a screw in here to hold it, so you have a screw here and here holding the screen in place. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to put mine on with Velcro. Let me show you how I'm going to do it. Okay. So what I'm actually going to use is some of this 3M Velcro strips. This way, at any point in time, I can take the screen off without a problem. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it And I'm going to put one, I'll put one here, close to the inside here, so it adheres to here. And then I'm going to put one here, so it adheres to up here. Okay, so as you can see, when I put this on here, that's how it should hold it. And they should be, the gaps shouldn't be too big, and it should hold it in place. Now, of course, we're going to do this based on theory. As you can see now, we have them on there. So now in theory, we should be able to just peel this side off. One. Can't get a hold of it. I don't have any fingernails. There we go. Two. Now before we stick it on here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook my wires back up. So this has one line on it. So this is going to go into one. And you can't put them in wrong. They only fit in one direction. So you don't have to worry about that. You just be careful you don't bend any pins putting them in. And this would be two. There we go. Now we can take that, turn that to face the printer, slide that over, slide that up. Okay, looks like this one up here isn't going to touch. Well, it did. It just didn't touch real well. So what we're going to do is we're going to add one more strip to it real quick. Let's see here. I'll put that back over that, like so. And then you push. It's fairly well stuck on there. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. We'll let it sit there and we'll see how that works. Now, like I said, I still need to get the longer screws to put in the back of this. But for right now, we are hooked up. So, what do you say we plug it in and fire her up real quick? There we go. She's booting up. Alright, guys. Well, as you can see, it works. Tune in next week and we'll go through the basics of the smart LCD controller. We'll also print off a printer too. Thank y'all for watching. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, have a great day. Alright guys, here's my new house. Well, here's the lot for my new house. And here's a video of them just starting to clear the lot. I mean, they literally just started bulldozing part of the lot when I got there. So as you can see, they're just starting to push down all the little trees. Alright, and here we go. Here's a picture of them when they started taking down the bigger trees. As you can see, one of the big trees in the bulldozer there. And then here's the lot mostly cleared. So as you can see, it's starting to come along.